Hello, this is Professor Brown-Cedarberg, and I'd like to look at overriding an equals method in a child class. Let's assume that we have these classes. We have the class animal. It has two children, dog and cat. Dog has a child retriever. Retriever has two children, golden and Labrador. We're going to be working with the classes animal and dog. Now, animal has a single instance variable, that's gender. Dog has a single instance variable, and that's name. Both animal and dog have the appropriate getter and setter methods. So animal has a single instance variable, gender, dog, one instance variable, and that's name. Now within the animal class, we'll define our equals method this way. It will expect to have an instance of the class animal passed to it. We refer to it as animal passed. And it will return back what is generated by this evaluation. We will have the calling object, and we refer to that as this. Find its gender. That string will be then used to call the method equals, and equals will have passed to it the gender of the animal passed, and we'll find the gender of the animal passed by calling the method getGender. So in this line we have returned back the result of the comparison of the gender of the calling object to the gender of the passed object. Now we got the gender of the animal passed by calling the method getGender. We got the gender of the calling object by just this dot gender. Little mix and match there, works just fine. So there's our return back. It's a Boolean, true or false, and that's our definition of the equals method within the animal class. Now most first-year programming students would define their equals method within the dog class, and that's the child class, this way, that they would expect to have passed into this method an instance of the class dog, and they would return back the result of this evaluation, and that is that the calling object this would call the method getName, or it could have just found name. It could have just been this dot name. But in our example, we'll have the calling object call the method getName. That will return back a string. That string will in turn call the method equals. Equals will have passed to it what is returned when dog passed, the passed object, calls the method getName. So we have compared the name of the calling object and the name of the passed object. But this isn't correct. While we take care of looking at the name, we haven't looked at the gender. And so while this method will tell us that the names of two dogs are the same, it doesn't tell us that the gender is the same. So let's look at the right way to do this. Here's a correct development of an equals method in a child class. In this case, the child class is dog. Now this equals method expects to have passed to it an instance of the class object that we'll call obj. Now we'll remember that the class object is the mother of all classes. So if I expect to get passed to a method an instance of the class object, it covers any instance of any class. So we'll establish a Boolean, we'll call it isEqual, we'll set it to false. We'll then do this test, and our test is make sure that obj is not null. That is, that there's something there, and that the object passed in, obj, is indeed an instance of the class dog. We use the instance of operator. If both of these are true, that is, obj does exist and it is indeed an instance of the class dog, we'll go into this block of code. Within our block of code, we declare that we will have an instance of the class dog we'll call the dog. We'll put into it what is returned back when we cast obj, the object passed into this method, into a dog. And so in the space the dog is an instance of the class dog. We'll then put into the space isEqual, that Boolean that we declared earlier, what is returned back by this line. And in this line we use the word super to go up one generation. So with super.equals, we call the equals method of the parent, that's animal, and we pass to it the dog, the instance of the class dog that we developed earlier, that we declared and gave a value to. So we're passing up to the equals method of our parent class the instance of the class dog. And so that method will fire, and it will determine if the gender is the same. We'll then find out if the name of the calling object of this class is equal to the name of the past object of this class. And so we'll determine if the names of those are the same, of the two are the same. And with this line, we'll see if indeed the two instances are indeed the same, because we'll look at not only the name but also the gender. And if we evaluate to true with super.equals the dog and this.getName.equals the dog getName, if that evaluates to true, isEqual is given a value of true, and we return that value. If it does not evaluate to true, right, it'll be set to false, we return that value. IsEqual always has a value. Whether we go into this block of code following the if or not, IsEqual always has a value. We hard-coded it as false to begin with. We'll flip it to true if appropriate, leave it as false if appropriate. So here's the correct development of an equals method that overrides the equals method in a parent class. So what did we look at today? Well, we saw that the parameter list of our overriding method must look for an instance of the class object. That's what must be passed into it. We must confirm the type passed into our method with instance of. We cast that type into the appropriate type. We call our parent equals method, and then we compare the instance variables. Thank you very much.